Why aren't Indian fiction books as popular, as mega blockbusters like the other Western popular books? Hey you beautiful people, welcome back to a new video on our channel Read Travel Become. A few months back when I was in India, I was visiting a lot of booksellers in India. I was visiting those small independent bookstores, I visited Crosswords, I visited those big bookstores, I visited all of them. And everywhere I was talking to the shopkeeper, I was talking to people who are working in that bookstore as to what people are reading these days. Literally everyone told me the same number of popular books that were being talked about, that were being bought, and in that list very few Indian fiction books were there. I asked the shopkeeper what do people generally prefer. He always said people generally prefer Murakami over Anita Desai and Agatha Christie over Chetan Bhagat book. They were not picking up Indian fiction books, and although there are a lot of Indian fiction books out there, be it mythology, be it romance, action, thriller, lot of genres, but not many people are picking it up. And I had to study about this topic. I had to understand why aren't we picking Indian fiction books, and even I am proponent of that. I haven't read a lot of Indian fiction books. Why haven't I done that? I have 4 reasons for you guys. We are going to talk about 4 important things why I think Indian fiction books aren't as popular and what we can do to see where the space is going. So make sure you watch the video till the end. You may never know which thought or fact may resonate with you and change the course of your life. So let's get started. Let's talk about the first point, familiarity. Now, why did I start reading fiction books? What was my motivation to start reading fiction? One of the primary reasons was to expand my thinking horizons, to understand different cultures, to develop empathy, to have a sense of escape, to be in some places where I have not been before mentally. Khalid Hosseini took me to the Afghan War, Dostoevsky took me to the Russian Revolution, Christine Hanna took me to Alaska, to World War II, all of these places. Murakami took me to the world of Japan. It was a sense of escape for me where I was experiencing something which I had not experienced before. Picking an Indian fiction meant it was a new concept for me, but I was familiar with the setting, I was familiar with the storytelling elements, I was familiar with the characters. Somehow I felt that. That's why initially I didn't pick up a lot of Indian fiction books. And I realized that whenever I wanted to pick up an Indian fiction book, the most that I got was the romance novels, be it Ravindra Jadeja, be it Durjoy Datta's, all these novels. And when I started digging deeper into some great literature, I found out some very heavy books like Suitable Boy by Vikram Seth, like Amitav Ghosh's all his works. I don't know if Jhumpa Lahiri can be classified like as an Indian author. She's Western, but I would consider an Indian author. I don't know. I love her works. So that was my first point. Like, I would not read a book just based on whether it's an Indian book or not. I did not have that bias when I was starting reading, right? So I wanted to explore more. That was my first point. The familiarity of the characters was one major reason. A lot of you people ask me in the comment section, why don't you recommend Indian books? Why don't you talk about Indian books? Because my primary aim is not to promote Indian literature. My primary aim is to expand your knowledge. My primary aim is to let you guys think and broaden your horizons. I'm not here just to tell you, hey, read Indian books only because that's how you build a nation. No, that's not how you build a nation. You build a nation by knowing different perspectives, by bringing in different perspectives, and by understanding what imperfections your country has and then working upon it. That's why I feel reading a lot of different genres is very, very important. And you must have also seen I do not stick to one particular genre of books. I'm not just a fantasy reader. I'm not just a non-fiction reader. I read everything out there. I've read Serbian books. I've read Japanese books. That's how I approach reading. I do not approach reading on the basis of the country in which it is written. Next point is marketing. I feel not a lot of Indian fiction books are marketed really well. There are gems hidden out there which are just beautiful Indian writings which reflect our cultures, which deeply resonate with the societal problems. But just because they did not find the right audience, they did not come to limelight, they're just hidden somewhere. Libraries are slowly declining in our country. There is no way for us to get access to all of these books which I'm talking about. So how do you get access? You go onto the internet, you go onto social media. There you are already finding books which are heavily marketed and which are not that great, to be honest. I do not like Chetan Bhagat's work a lot. I do not like Durjoy Datta's work a lot. I do not personally resonate with all those stories. I don't like reading romance novels as much, but all I see is those books heavily promoted. On the other side, I have to know about an Indian fiction book. I look at the awards. I have looked at the adulation that it has got in an international space. So I have read those books. I've read God of Small Things. I've read multiple of Anita Desai's works. They're beautiful works. So this is one problem I think the books are not being marketed really well, and marketing also has two sides to it. It's basically the demand which drives the marketing. If people are not interested to know what's happening in the world of literature, why would somebody put in money to, exactly tell people, hey, this is what you want to read? Amish's books were great. They started a new genre of this mythical fantasy storytelling, which had its roots in our Indian history. And suddenly you see a lot of people, lot of Indian authors just copying, ripping that genre off and writing the same stories again and again. When I went to these stores in India, I was actually seeing what new authors are coming up, what new Indian books are being written. They are literally in the same space. You will either find a romance novel or find a mythological book. There are many more genres to explore, and I don't know why these genres are not explored. And if they are explored, they are not coming to the limelight. We need to know why this is happening. Now, the third point, and one of the most important points, which is celebration of the author. Right now, I'm in the US. I was just reading a Stephen King book, his latest book, You Like It Darker. I could just see the fandom around. Every year a new Stephen King book comes up. Whenever he's going to a talk show, the whole auditorium is full of people. Not just that, a few months back I made a video about a national book festival which happened in Washington DC. I attended that, and the way authors were celebrated, that just made my heart full. Like people were so passionate to actually celebrate an author, tell the author how impactful their books were. They were genuinely excited for the next book of the author. They actually give a lot of motivation to the author because that's how the author is celebrated, right? In India, I don't know many authors who are like rock stars, like not many authors are celebrities. Yes, they deserve to be celebrities. I fully believe that. But again, I come back to one conversation which Varun Grover had in one of his interviews, which was beautiful and it stayed with me. He said that India culturally is a country which has always celebrated some things which are at the forefront. And he gave an example by saying that nobody remembers Valmiki who wrote the Ramayana, but people just remember the characters who were at the forefront. People remember Ram, but nobody remembers Valmiki. In the same way, we celebrate the actors who are acting in the movie rather than the people who are making, like the script writers, the cinematographers, the people who are actually sitting down and making that idea possible. We do not celebrate those people. In a similar way, when it comes to books, we do not celebrate a lot of authors who have come up with these ideas. Sacred Games is a huge Netflix show. It was one of India's first TV shows, but not many people know that it's based on a Vikram Chandra novel of the same name. Vikram Chandra is not celebrated as much as this show is celebrated on Netflix. That's what I mean to say, that the moment we start celebrating authors, we start treating them like they should. Ruskin Bond is one such author, but again, I wouldn't consider him like an Indian indie author. Some of the authors, yes, are very well respected, but they are respected only in their communities. They are not being able to push the boundaries of their niche into the mainstream masses, if you know what I mean. Chetan Bhagat was one such author which was promoted to the masses, which in a way is a really good thing, because I remember when I was growing up, people were at least trying to read a book, even if they were not great books, but people were at least talking about the author. He became a big author. So I have my respect for him for that. And 5 Point Someone is not a bad book actually. It's a really good book amongst all of his books that he has written. And the fourth and the last point, which I think makes people not want to read Indian fiction, is the ecosystem of reading. What I mean by that is, let's say you're a kid growing up in an Indian education system. You go to school, you do your homework, you're told to read the books that are a part of your academic curriculum. You get marks for that, you're graded for that. We are stuck in this cycle of reading something to get something out of it. You read so that you get marks. As soon as you get the marks, you're done. You want to read to crack that competitive exam. You want to read to pass that civil servant exam. Outside of that, we are not encouraged to expand just our intellectual curiosity by reading books. And in that ecosystem, I've seen here in America, kids go to libraries. They literally have an author's day. They literally have specific book of the month. They have so many events where just the children are exposed to the world of literature. They are exposed to so many different varieties of, languages around them, that it eventually makes them a reader. It just tells the children internally that they should be reading books, because there is a different joy in reading literature. You're just not reading for the heck of it or to become a better person. This new trend has emerged in India where most of the writing that is happening in India is of the self-help genre. That's why Indian fiction books are again not being promoted, because these Indian non-fiction books are heavily promoted. It's called a hopium. It's like a drug for hope, where people are reading non-fiction books that they think will change their life. They try reading that book. 2 days, you feel amazing. You feel like, oh, I'm gonna change the world. I'm gonna be a successful person. But nothing changes after that. People are reading books just for that hopium drug, which I think is not the right way to approach reading, to approach literature, coming from a person who loves book, who wants everybody to absolutely love the world of literature. I am not telling you to just read fiction or just read non-fiction. It should be an eclectic mix. It just should be coming from a place of genuine interest, is what I feel. So this is the rant which I wanted to talk about, as to a lot of questions, a lot of comments in the comment section which have asked me that why don't I pick up more of Indian fiction. Remember, we are only talking about Indian fiction books. There are great non-fiction books out there, but I still have a problem when it comes to Indian fiction authors. Again, there also may be a case where some of the really bad books are being set as examples of Indian fiction books, and some great fiction books are still out there, still hidden somewhere, which have not come to the forefront, right? So this is how I would make a comparison, that if we want to read something, it genuinely should interest us. It should not be a marketing gimmick. This is what I wanted to share. So thank you so much for listening to my rant today. I wanted to talk about this space since a long time, where us readers can improve the space by not sticking to one particular genre, by trying out different things, by promoting authors, by celebrating authors. Also, if authors are watching this video, we should write from our heart, but marketing is something which we also need to push towards to get our books to the right places. Whenever I get any sponsorship requests from a lot of authors, which I don't do, but I get this request that, hey, you have to say these nice words and you'll get paid. I've literally got hundreds of emails like that, which I don't appreciate at all. We don't want to just create marketing ecosystem where we are just selling books. Literature is much more than that. Literature is a reflection of our society. Literature is a reflection of our time, and it is going to help the young generation to move forward in more than one ways possible. So yeah, that was the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching till here. Stay tuned for a lot of interesting videos that are coming up. See you in the next one. Bye bye.